Alright, hello everyone and welcome to AEW Discussion. I'm your host and AEW enthusiast Dougie Doug, and in today's episode we're going to be discussing a special edition of Dynamite that is Fyter Fest. So it is almost time for All In. We are in that final stretch of the week, or that final week before we get to All In. And before we do, we got Fyter Fest. So ahead of the main event, at All In, MJF and Adam Cole would sit down with Renee Paquette and basically give their final thoughts on that. With that, we'll go ahead and get right into the action, starting with the Elite versus Bullet Club Gold, followed by an interview with followed by Renee Paquette's interview with MJF. So the match between the Elite and Bullet Club Gold did not happen. AEW instead opted to start the show with a chaotic brawl between those two groups that saw the match go to no contest after Rick Knox got wasted by Juice Robinson. Two big matches were front and center in this opening segment, and that's a good way to maximize minutes. I guess it was an overall good way to maximize minutes. From there, the focus turned backstage to an interview with Renee Paquette and AEW World Champion MJF. And in that interview, MJF would reiterate that he is genuine when he says that Adam Cole is not only his friend but his brother. And in Wembley Stadium, he will etch his name alongside the industry giants by retaining his title at the biggest event in professional wrestling history. Good start to the show. Clear sense of urgency regarding the placement of these segments. Ray Phoenix versus John Moxley. So Moxley and Phoenix had a good competitive match in which the latter was treated like the former's equal and nearly beat him on more than one occasion. Moxley would outlast Phoenix and put him to sleep for the win. And then after the match is where things really kind of picked up. The return of Santana and Ortiz would see them take their place alongside the PCC. So they will be joining them for Stadium Stampede. Phoenix, because he was having visa issues, was unable to make the show, so instead they wrote him off with an injury angle, so he is out, and instead in 6-on-6 it's going to be 5-on-5. So overall, hard angle, significant returns, and you have a pay-per-view match that is better off than it was prior to this segment. Okay, there we go. Contract signing for Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay, and Jericho did his best work of the year in this contract signing. He put over the magnitude of this match of the pay-per-view, claiming it to be even bigger than WrestleMania, which in some regards it certainly does feel that way. He was passionate and invested. It was certainly the most motivated promo he has cut in months, and it took a match that was already at the center of a sizable storyline. And he took a match that was at the center of a sizable storyline and made it that much bigger of a deal. Ospreay was great too, defiantly telling Jericho what their match means for him beyond the squared circle, which escalated the stakes. Throw in Don Callis and a little nod to Lance Storm, and you have an in-ring promo segment that may rank among the best that this company has ever produced. And the show concludes with a Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship match, the Hardies versus Aussie Open. And there was plenty of effort from the Hardies, but this was more about showcasing champions, and in that regard, it was a success. They looked impressive, like one of the best tag teams on the planet, and two guys deserving of the spotlight. Sunday's match will bring them. The post-match featuring Cole and MJF was great too, with the latter once again teasing a betrayal, only for him to not to do it and instead hug his buddy. The look on both men's faces told the story of competitors torn between preserving friendship and competing for the top prize in the company. If this and other recent hints were any indicator, it is safe to say that that friendship is about to implode at All In. So in conclusion, this was a great episode of Dynamite. There was a sense of urgency from the moment the show hit the air, and it never relented, even though there probably was, although the show probably could have let some things kind of just like breathe, kind of take a pause, take some time in between, transitioning from segment to match and so on. But ultimately, every segment served a purpose in building a story, highlighting a star, providing hype for a match at the pay-per-view. Everything was meaningful, and the result was a focused show. There were some smaller creative decisions that certainly questionable, like AR Fox being pulled from the All-In card, but the show as a whole was one that knew the assignment and delivered, providing considerable hype for the most important event in company history. And with that will conclude this episode of AEW Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the like button down below.